Um, we had a guest on a couple months ago who wrote a book aptly named "Faithful Politics," and she had said something that still sticks to me to this day, where she's like, Christian nationalism is more about getting people to behave like Christians than to actually become Christians. And I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, yeah, totally. And it's sad because as a believer myself, I I like to think that the gospel has a message that can help people navigate this crazy world we live in.
That idea of getting people to act like Christians instead of actually be Christians, because act like Christians in a very narrow sense and often twisted sense too, because when we look at immigration policy, when we look at racial justice issues, when we look at the equitable distribution of resources, when we look at creation care, all of these things too, we're like, oh, no, 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 no. So they thrive on this very stark us versus them, and it's Christians themselves who have to get in there and disrupt that and call that out. And they know that, which is why when you do, expect your life to be miserable for a while. And like, you got to have a thick skin if you're on social media, because Christians themselves are the greatest threat to their success. Because it's Christians themselves that can pull back the veil and say, wait a minute, and draw on our theology and say, no, no, they're saying this, but it actually contradicts biblical teaching. And by advancing this quote unquote Christian agenda to make America a Christian nation, they're not just threatening the religious liberty of all Americans, Americans of all faiths and of no particular faith. They are threatening the religious liberty of Christians themselves, because you cannot have an authentic Christian faith, or it's extremely hard to, within this kind of a coercive system.